Hey, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to share my thoughts with you on the Nike Zoom Fly 3. Hey, if you're new to the channel, I'm Tim. I upload new videos each week all about running, so you'll want to subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so that you'll be notified each time that I do. So the Zoom Fly 3 is really the cousin to the Nike Next Percent and the 4% shoes, only with a lot more durability. It's a neutral road shoe that I think makes a good choice for a long distance racer, so 10K and up, but it's got enough durability to make it an excellent choice for a daily trainer as well. Now it comes with a carbon fiber plate. It retails for $160, which is an affordable option for a shoe that has a carbon fiber plate. So looking at the weight of the shoe, a men's size 9 comes in at 9.1 ounces or 258 grams, while a women's size 8 comes in at 7.7 ounces or 218 grams. Those are some pretty respectable weights for a daily trainer. Some of the reason, however, that it's a little bit heavier as a race shoe is because of the stack height. It has a lot of react foam from heel to toe. The stack height in the heel is 36 millimeters, and the stack height in the toe is 28 millimeters. So that is a lot of react foam from heel to toe. And sandwiched in there, remember, is a carbon fiber plate as well. So now looking at the upper on these shoes, it is a what they call a Vaporweave upper. When I first looked at the shoe, or picked it up, I thought it might run a little hot because that Vaporweave feels almost plastic-like. But now I've got about 42 miles, a little over 42 miles on these shoes, and it's been warm here in Michigan during the time that I've been running in these. So 70 degrees and above out on my runs, and my feet have been relatively comfortable. I was surprised that Vaporweave did as well as it has done in keeping my feet comfortable during those miles. Looking at the eyelet chain, they adopted a fit tab system that does a really good job in locking your foot down, especially through that midfoot back to your heel cup. I felt like it was really comfortable, and that Vaporweave material seemed to really form fit to my foot. So I was really pleased with the comfort level of the upper. One note about the laces, definitely double knot your shoelaces. Even when I did that, after every single run, at least one of my shoes had come half untied by the time I got done. And my runs average around just a little over 7 miles typically. So if you were going great distances, for example, in my case, I intend to use these shoes, or I'm hoping to use these to race a half marathon in. I could see me running into trouble getting up around mile 10 or 11. I'd hate to have these shoes come untied because that could spell disaster. So I really like the tongue of the shoe. It's a bootie-like construction. So I didn't have any issues with it bunching up. It was really comfortable. Look at the heel collar. It has a split padding in that heel collar area. I wasn't too sure when I first pulled this shoe out of the box just how comfortable that was going to be, because it was pretty minimal, as you can see. But it did a good job. Even though it was minimal, it was more than adequate to keep my foot feeling comfortable during my runs. So the heel tab has very minimal structure to it, but it didn't affect my heel cup area. My heel felt like it had set in there pretty securely. What was unusual though is above my heel, so you get into that Achilles tendon area, it felt loose. I almost couldn't feel it when I was out running, and that was kind of an odd sensation. It took me a little while to get used to that. So looking at the insole of the shoe, you can see that it's substantial. I really haven't had too much trouble with that. I do often pay attention to the insoles. Sometimes I have issues if they're not quite tall enough with my heel rubbing on the collar of the shoe, but I didn't have that issue with this shoe at all. In fact, comfort level wise, they just really knocked it out of the park. The shoe is super comfortable on foot. So now looking at the midsole of the shoe, that react foam is really pretty remarkable. It's durable, but yet it gives a ton of cushioning to your feet. And there's a lot of it under your foot. That 36 millimeters in the heel and 28 in the forefoot. You got that 8 millimeter drop, but that is just a lot of foam underneath you. And with that carbon fiber plate sandwiched in there, this shoe can go fast, and I've enjoyed my runs in it. They've been very comfortable. The react foam has held up, and I got about 40 miles on, a little over 40 miles, 42 miles, something like that on the shoe now. And I'll come back and do a more full review after 100 miles, but I've got enough on it now to know that react foam is holding up pretty well at this point, and it still feels springy, I guess is a good way to describe it, or bouncy. And I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed my runs in it so far. So I'm kudos to Nike and that react foam that they put in the shoe. So as we look at the outsole of the shoe, you'll notice that they sculpted that foam to mimic more like the Nike Next Percent that they're so famous for. They've certainly got a lot of attention. And if you're a heel striker, that could be an issue for you. That's a pretty narrow landing area if you're a heel striker, and it might cause you to feel a little bit unstable. I'm more of a midfoot striker, so the shoe fit me pretty comfortably, and I never felt unstable when I was out on the road. And you can see from that video run in the beginning that I make some pretty tight corners, and I ran on some loose gravel and through some grass and things of that nature. And as far as the traction goes of the shoe, I thought it did pretty well. I wasn't ever feeling uncomfortable during my runs. Now let's look at that blown rubber. You can see that they have it in all the areas that I would need it, and that's up in that midfoot to toe area. That is covered in blown rubber. They got a couple strips in the heel area, whereas another, that's another area where it's high impact, and I can show some signs of wear pretty quickly on a shoe in that heel, as well as that toe area. But they did a good job covering up that react foam, which is very durable to begin with. So I think the durability of this shoe is going to be pretty impressive over time, but we'll see when I get to 100 miles. Performance-wise, I had to temper my expectations a little after my first run. I was expecting it to be more like the next percent, I guess, with that carbon fiber plate where it really propels you forward. And that's not the sensation that I got at all. It doesn't mean that this isn't a quality shoe and a good choice for a long distance racer. It's just my initial expectation, knowing that it had a carbon fiber plate and it was part of that family of shoe. I was expecting maybe a bit more pop in the shoe, and that's not the feeling that I got at all. But it did do well, and it has performed well for me. I think it's going to be a good choice. It's certainly going to be probably my top 3 shoes to choose from to run a half marathon race. I headed out today on a run, and my goal race pace is a 7:37 minute mile. I actually came in around 7:36, and it felt pretty comfortable. One of the things that I'll note, though, is that I needed to get into the correct running posture and gait cycle. So it's not something that came natural to me with this shoe. There are other shoes that I've had that I put on that right off the bat, you take off running and it feels pretty terrific. This one felt a little bit clunky at times, but when I did fall into or get into that running posture that fit both the engineering and the tech of the shoe, as well as my own gait cycle, it felt terrific. So I have some pretty high hopes for this shoe, that as I put more miles on it, that I can find that balance, I guess, in my gait cycle and the tech of the shoe, where it comes together and it just becomes a real pleasure to run in. Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, maybe give it a thumbs up. I certainly appreciate that. Also, subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload new content. As always, run tall, run strong, and be kind to one another. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.